Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Hi
guys.
everyone.
Oh. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Hi guys.
Go away, wasp.
Where?
It's over outside.
Oh, sorry.
Pardon me. Sorry.
Won't be drinking tea.
No.
It'll be a big glass of wine for that one.
Oh yes. Let go.
Oh no.
God, talking about social media always makes me have an itchy pit.
Or wine.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Cozy Talk.
And today we'll be talking about social media and the influences on body confidence.
Ooh, good topic. I think this is a really important topic actually, because if you look at social media now, it is literally part of our day-to-day lives now. You know,
it's consuming such a big portion of our lives nowadays.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think it's so easy to get sucked into it.
Oh yeah.
And to feel pressured by it, and I think it's important that we talk about it.
How we want to talk about this is we actually had a list of questions that we're going to answer for you.
I'm going to kick it off first. Okay, so how do you think social media influences our confidence?
Right, well, I think that it can do both sides actually. I think because, I mean, when we first went onto social media, it was, first of all, it was MSN. Cheeky little MSN. So it wasn't really, it was mainly like you just would go home from your like from school, talk to your friends on there and go on webcam, that was it. And then was introduced Bebo, wasn't it?
Oh, Bebo!
So we were very much, that social media then was like not what it is now at all.
Not at all.
So if I'm looking at it at how it is today, there's two sides. I would say that you've got one side, which is where it can increase it. I mean, if you put a photo of yourself where you feel like you look good, you're going out that night and you feel like you look good, and there's comments on there from men and women, you know, saying that you look gorgeous, that's going to give you a boost. But then the flip side that I feel like is happening nowadays is that it can really decrease it. There are so many trolls out there nowadays, it's ridiculous. I have no idea why people would feel the need to sit behind a keyboard and completely rip someone about their appearance, about their beliefs, about anything.
You see it everywhere, don't you? Everybody seems to be
literally everywhere. You cannot post a photo on or a video, whatever, without someone having to comment, and I just think it's disgusting. And I think this can dramatically decrease our confidence, because you could have stacks and stacks of positive comments. You get one negative one and it can just completely shatter your confidence. And I think as well, the fact that you see other women, then you start comparing yourself to this other person,
and that can be a really damaging thing to do. And once you're in that mindset, it's really hard to stop that from happening. I think it definitely does affect our confidence. I think having a social life now doesn't seem to be optional anymore, does it? It's just all of a sudden become part of our everyday lives and how we're growing up. And I think how confident we feel depends on how connected we feel with the people that we see on social media and how we can relate to them. And sometimes I feel it can be a little bit of a battleground, a bit of a competition.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
And I think you made a really good point there, and I think it gives us the opportunity to compare ourselves with other people, which at the end of the day is a really unhealthy thing to do.
Right, so Jodie, question number 2. Do you feel young girls are pressured to look a certain way now?
I think they are. As we're growing up through puberty and adolescence, our image is changing all the time, and we can get really insecure about those changes. And to help us feel less insecure, we try desperately to fit in, we try desperately not to stand out, and we base that on what we see on social media. The images that we see in social media, I think, are setting our standards as to what we should look like and how we should be fitting in, and I think we can forget that we're not all meant to look the same.
I feel like at the moment that with young girls, not even necessarily young girls, you know, like just women in general, and also men as well, I think that there is beautiful is only one category, and I feel like if you're looking that way, then you are beautiful. If you do not look and fit that mould, then you are considered not beautiful. I don't think, and I think that's where girls always feel pressured to look the same, like you have to look beautiful, you have to have this shaped body, and unless you don't fit that mould, then you're not beautiful. And to me, that's not what beautiful is at all.
And I guess that leads on to our next question.
Yeah.
Do you think society is too focused on looks?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I think nowadays, I mean, because you've got the magazines, because you've got Instagram, because you've got Facebook, and you've now got everything, and also YouTube as well, you know, that can have a big impact.
It's massive.
And I think there's so much out there, like our consumer market for beauty products, for, you know, plastic surgery, you know, all of these things, I'll say enhanced features and to modify yourself to become this stereotypical beautiful. And I think that's why now we are so targeted on looks. I feel like nowadays in society we're missing the point. I feel like people can turn people away just because of how they look. Whereas if you actually met someone in real life and actually just had a 5-minute conversation with them just to understand who they are as a person, what their values, their morals are, what their personality is, I think this world would be a completely different place. And I think that's where we're going wrong.
I think as a society we are too focused on looks and how we look. I mean, that's how money is made, you know, through advertisements, and they're all just trying to tell us one thing, and it's all to make us feel one thing, and that's, I want that. But they're always advertising strategies to improve the way we look, and that's encouraging us to be so focused on the way we look.
It's not necessarily just us, but the fact of our our society that actually is making us like have this like learning, this like learned behaviour in a way.
Yeah.
That you have to look like this in order to
do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is probably like my favourite question actually, is what do you think beauty is now compared to what younger girls think beauty is?
I think what I think beautiful is now, I must admit, is completely different to what I thought beautiful was when I was a teenager. I was focused on what somebody looked like, and in turn I was more focused on how I looked like as when I was growing up. But I think I now define someone as being beautiful by the way in which they treat other people, how gentle they are, like you said earlier about the morals, their values, and those are the qualities that I look out for in somebody. And also confidence as well. If I see somebody who is confident within themselves, not just physically, but their own self inside, then I'm instantly attracted to that person, no matter what they look like on the outside. I'm there. I'm there.
I completely agree. Like Faye said, someone could walk in the room and they could, like, what you considered really ugly. I don't know any of you know what you would consider ugly, but the ugliest person that you could think of, I could sit down and chat to them, and they could tell me that they're making a difference to young people's lives, or these are their values, you know, about something which is meaningful. And they could be the most beautiful person on the planet to me, and that is exactly how different my head's changed. That's the problem. If we all had that same view when we were younger about being beautiful on the inside, and like if magazines portrayed as this is beautiful, you know, not about what you look like, this is what beautiful is, we would have a completely different outlook on the younger generation.
So this is a different question for you. We don't have children, so it might be a little bit difficult to answer, but we'll try our best. What advice would you give to parents who are worried about social media influences on their kids?
I think my first advice would be never try and stop it, because you're not going to be able to stop it. If all their friends have got it, you are not going to stop it. That'd be my first thing. So I think you just need to learn to embrace it. Because if you tell your child you're not allowed Instagram, don't go on that, they're just going to rebel even more, and then it's just going to become this whole mess. So what I think what my advice would be is to act like you're interested about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've written.
Yeah, because if you're interested about it, they'll be able to talk to you about it. And I think if they do become very, you know, their self-esteem is getting really low, then I think it's just about reminding them about that they are beautiful and why they're beautiful, and always just encourage them about how they look. And I'm not talking about making them completely big-headed, but talk about that they're beautiful in other ways. If they came home and hadn't got an A on their science test, they're clever, they're intelligent, you know, they're great at science, that makes them beautiful. So look at beautiful in other ways, not just necessarily about looks, I'd say.
I think I would probably take a similar approach. I would encourage parents to maybe take an interest in it. Don't block it, don't try and avoid it. Take an interest, find out what is so important about it to their child. What are they looking at? What are they being involved in? Take an interest in it. And I think by doing that, you'll have more of an idea of what your child feels she's lacking, he or she. And I think that will give you a bit of a better idea as to how to move forward. I think once you've taken an interest into what your child's looking at and what they feel is important to them on social media, I think it will give them a better idea of how it's making them feel, why it's making them feel that way.
So, see, I felt like this was a really important one. We tend to kind of categorise women at the moment, you know, in like social media, but actually, Jodie, what about the influences on young men?
Oh, you can't forget the young men. I think young men are just as vulnerable as young women are.
Without a doubt.
I think they're just as vulnerable, they're just as exposed. They're equally going to feel the pressures on social media themselves, and it might be that, you know, they're comparing themselves to how other males look online, or what they see on the television and magazines, etc. But I also think it can change or alter their expectations of women.
Yeah,
and
exactly
what women should look like, how they should act, behave, whatever they see on social media is again what they're going to set their standards to and what they're going to expect. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was going to say the exact same thing. I mean, young men are going to look at bodybuilders, for example, or men with big muscles and be like, oh, you know, and there might be a boy out there who's just naturally very slim, and they're going to think, why have I not got muscles like that? Or that means I'm not attractive. That means women are not, you know, girls are not going to look at me. But then also you've got the other flip side again. I mean, that's the same as what young girls will think as well. I've got a sneeze coming.
Bless you in advance.
Hey!
Bless you!
That's me.
So Chelsea,
Yes.
why do you think we get addicted to social media?
See, I think there's two main points. I think we are a nation of complete nosy buggers, and I feel like we find out everything through social media as well. It's almost like a news feed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know you obviously have that on social media, but as in like telly on the news, you get all the information from there. So I think that's one of the reasons. But I think the main one is that when we do post something, it's the addiction to get likes. And I think when we get likes and when we get nice comments, we get this like sense of endorphins that get released, which is obviously factual. It's the same like when you do exercise, you get a release of endorphins, and that makes us happy, which then creates an addiction because you obviously like the endorphins, you've got to do it more, and it just goes on and on and on.
Vicious cycle.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're the two main reasons that I would say that we get addicted to social media.
I think we become addicted to social media because it's now become this sort of platform where we feel validated, where we can feel accepted, and the more that we can feel that way, the more we crave it.
And I just want to do a quick disclaimer as well. We are in no way saying that social media is bad.
No,
not at all.
No.
We're not saying that social media influencers are bad. We're not saying that people who use social media are bad. We are just talking about the impact that it has had, that I've learned from like working in a school, and also about our own life experiences as well. Right, so we've kind of sort of covered this question, but I wanted to do it in more of like a direct way. And it was, what worries you most about the influences social media has on body confidence?
I think social media is pushing us more in the direction of our looks are so important, and what I'm worried about is that if we focus so much on the way we look, then we're going to devalue the other assets that we have that make us good and beautiful people. I feel like people aren't going to look for those things, they're not going to value those things that are even more important actually. And
yeah, I agree, completely agree. I think the one thing that really frustrates me is that there's girls out there who self-harm because they do not look a certain way, and that's what worries me the most, the impact that is actually having on their mental health. and I can't tell you how much it upsets me and frustrates me, the fact that there is young girls out there, because of what they are seeing on the news, you know, on Instagram, that they are harming themselves because they do not look a certain way. That I can't even begin to explain to you how much it frustrates me. And I feel like why we're doing this is because we want to show girls out there that being you is the best thing you can be. You weren't born to be anybody else. You can try and modify yourself, but it will never happen. You were born to be you. And that's what worries me the most about that. And I could run on for days about that, but that's what worries me the most.
Do you have any personal experiences?
Yeah, I do. I touched on a little bit about school, which, you know, was obviously a big part, and it was more about the fact I said to you about my height, and it was that I was broader, and, you know, I think it's because I always used to say this to myself when I was younger, if I was a boy, I would want a girl who was petite. I wanted a girl.
I remember you saying
I would want a girl who was petite, who was short. That was in my head. That was who I wanted. And I was the complete opposite. Tall, like I said, broad-shouldered. You know, I had small boobs. Like, my legs were like a little bit on the bigger side, but I had an athletic build. And to me, women were supposed to be like petite, but like, you know, have bigger boobs, like bigger like bum and hips. Like that's how it should have been. And I wasn't that.
But that's okay.
And that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that was my personal experience, and it took me age. I cannot tell you how long it took me to actually. I'm not even gonna tell. To like my boobs, and that took me ages. Like, and I mean, like early 20s. I accept this. That's my personal experience. I'd say.
When I was younger, I read a lot of magazines, and I used to enjoy reading them. I used to enjoy the images that were in them. I'd get one every week. And I didn't realise it at first, but I then was starting to pay more attention to the way I looked. I would get up ridiculously early in the morning before school to apply loads of makeup, add my hair extensions in just to make it feel like I had long, beautiful hair. But I wasn't using makeup in the most healthiest of ways. I mean, if you like to wear a lot of makeup, then that's fine too, but I was using it for the wrong reasons. I was using it to change the way that I looked rather than enhance what I already had. And again, that took me a long time to realise that that wasn't a healthy thing to do. And the only way that I could stop that was if I stopped reading magazines. At that point, it wasn't good for me to read anymore at that time, so I did stop for a little while, and now, you know, I can read magazines without questioning.
And can I just say, from an outsider perspective, and I remember you coming downstairs with your hair extensions in, and with your makeup on, and to me, you looked a lot less beautiful to me because you weren't my best friend.
That weren't me. And some things you have to learn for yourself. And I think, even though I felt that I needed to do that to, you know, put all this makeup on and to change the way that I looked, it didn't help my confidence at all, and if anything, it made it worse. Starting out on social media, there are a couple of things that I would personally advise, and these are things that have helped me because I use social media. The first tip is to be intentional, so know why you're using social media. The second one is to recognise how it's making you feel. How do you want social media to make you feel? If you're looking back and you think, oh, my mood's been a little bit off recently, have a little look at the things that you're being exposed to. Are those things actually making you feel good about yourself? Is that making you feel inspired or motivated, or really is it just putting you down? So recognise that, and then you can start gaining a little bit of control. I just want to say also that I think now is the crucial point, because I think when we have kids, when they're going to be exposed to social media, I think it's going to be a completely different playing field for the right reasons. I think people are now starting to be more aware of the pressures that are involved with social media, and people are starting to talk about it more, exactly as we are doing now. So I think it's the young people of today that are the most vulnerable. And you know, there are so many different people that I follow on Instagram mainly, who are just so inspirational and just so real, and that's the most important thing. They're just real. They're real people, and you can see that through their feeds.
They're transparent. What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get.
You'll probably just see us looking like this. You won't see us like all dolled up and things like that.
But we like to sleep more.
But yeah, we just want to say, you know, thank you for watching today's video. That really means a lot to us. I know this is quite like a bit of an intense one, but you know, we just felt like it was important to get it across, and this was really like the video that we wanted to kickstart with.
Yeah, definitely. So if you have any questions or any topics that you'd like us to cover, then leave a comment.
And don't forget to subscribe to see more of us. Bye.
Bye.